The Phillies, they're coming home. They're coming home today, finally. And no one's actually going to go to the park to actually watch them play. Maybe it's because of the rain. Maybe it's because nobody wants to go see them. But we're going to talk Phillies today on Trending in the AM. Their awful start. We start in 30 seconds. Fourth and goal. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow on all social media platforms. Turn those notifications on to get interactive with today's show. Head over to the Philadelphia Sports Network YouTube page. It's the best place to drop your comments, thoughts, questions on what we're talking is Phillies. The best team in baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies. Or any other topic you want to talk about. If you want to talk Masters, I know the Masters are the first group is off the tee at the Masters. I'm excited, and like three other people in Philadelphia about that. I am your host, Phil Stifle. You can follow me on Twitter at Bearded Knowledge. And we've got another one of the great writers from Philadelphia Sports Network joining me today. Regina Ham here at Regina_Ham is her Twitter handle. Good morning, Regina. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. My favorite thing about Masters weekend is we all know how expensive tickets are. We all know they're pricey. But for the crisp price of $66, you can buy the entire concessions menu, which is cheaper than probably a hot dog and a beer at this point at Citizens Bank.
Absolutely. Would you want to get a taste of that pimento cheese sandwich just for the simple sake to say you had a pimento cheese sandwich at Augusta?
Well, I mean, like that's part of the experience is you have if you make it to Augusta, you're eating pimento cheese sandwiches. That's your diet for the weekend.
You have to.
The fact they also now have a peach ice cream sandwich. Now tell me that's not the best way to follow up that pimento cheese sandwich.
I can't say I'm a big peach fan. I'm not sure.
You're missing out.
I'm not sure about that. But what I will say is that someday I will drop a hefty paycheck or two or three and go down there just to have one of those pimento cheese sandwiches. But that's beside the point. Because outside of Adam, who's checking in and watches my golf show every single week, not many people in the Philadelphia area are ready to talk the Masters this morning. Hey, just so you know, I do have a knockoff green jacket back here that I wear every year for Masters.
I have a green chair and a green couch. So we're masters of couch sitting in my house.
It's close. We're talking red. We're talking Phillies today here on Trending in the AM. And this 1-5 start, they went on the road, unfortunately, did not go as planned for a lot of Phillies fans. And Regina, you cover the Phillies for Philadelphia Sports Network. I know you're a big Phillies fan. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of X's and O's and why and what and all that, just your general reaction to how these first 6 games went and just your overall feelings of your emotions, I guess, to the start to the season.
So, you know, I saw a tweet this morning as I was scrolling through the doom space that can be Philly sports. And someone's like, I can't believe we're the worst team in baseball. And I'm like, okay, let's pump the hate brakes there. Mm-hmm. But we're not great. Like there's no cause to panic. We have 154 games left. There is cause for concern. And as much as Phillies fans can be pessimistic pollies all the time, we shouldn't be concerned yet. We should be cautiously concerned. Let me say that, because 1-5 is not the way you want to start a season. The Royals and the Nationals also have the same record. The Nationals are in our division. They're not expected to even probably break 60 wins this season. We don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. But the way it's trending, it's starting to look like that. Mm-hmm. However, we are without Bryce Harper, who did take batting practice yesterday, so silver lining there.
Yes.
But our bullpen is not as healthy as it could be. When you rely on Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler and company, assorted other guys, you're going to tire people out. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say the season's done, write it off. We are not Flyers fans here. We don't do that. But we can be concerned. We can be a little cautious that maybe finishing second in the division is not going to be in reach this season, especially coming off the high of making to the World Series last year. People are going to be disappointed. Fans especially, you and I know, Philadelphia fans can be a tough crowd. There is no doubt. So, of course, the doom and gloom of worst team in baseball, okay, sure, have that today. The series with the Reds could go well over the weekend, and then what are you going to say come Monday?
Right. Look. My thing is, it's not doom and gloom, but I think you used a couple critical words there. You could be critical and concerned because this team, and I've said this all along since the offseason started, that this team is not much different than last year's team. And last year's team had to catch lightning in a bottle. It had there were a lot of highs and a lot of lows last year. It wasn't like we won 100 games last year. We were 87, 88 wins, stuck in with 2 days left. We started 22-28 last year under Joe Girardi. Basically you added Trey Turner, but you don't have Bryce Harper. You lost Rhys Hoskins. So basically Trey Turner's here just replacing their production to an extent. This is pretty much the same team, and you see that through the first 6 games. Poor hitting with runners in scoring position. Bullpen issues. It's like we brought in a whole new cast of characters, but the story is the same. Struggles out of the bullpen. So it's like, the concern and being critical of this team is okay, because the first thing that sticks out to me from this first 6 games is the fact that I don't know what the exact number is after yesterday, but I know like 2 or 3 days ago, we were like the 5th or 6th team in batting average in baseball, but we were the last team with hitting and runners in scoring position. And I kind of feel like I've been talking about that for like 4 years with the Philadelphia Phillies in a row, that they just don't hit in the clutch moments when they need to. So we can be critical because the story has been read and told for multiple years now. And that's where my concern and criticalness is this just the same team? And we're just going to battle it out for that last wild card spot. We're still going to be a good team. We don't have to think that they're going to lose, 100 games this year. But we could be critical because some of these issues are the same issues we had last year.
And that's the thing is first of all, we got to keep in mind as well, this is Rob Thomson's first full spring training, full season as a manager. He came in with after picking up Joe Girardi's leftovers last year and took him to the World Series. Now, for a man who's never really been a manager in Major League Baseball before, that's an accomplishment. Like, the reason he didn't win Manager of the Year, well, we can have that discussion another day. But
hold on. I'm gonna cut you off there because you know what? You say it was magical what he did, but it was magic. He couldn't have made the team any worse last year. He had it was only going to go up. So I was concerned, and I'll let you get back into this. As soon as they gave him the contract to be the full-time manager, I said it on this show on my previous network. I'm concerned. There's a reason why you're 30 years in baseball and you've never been a manager before. Can you catch lightning in a bottle twice?
Do you want the short answer is maybe. Long answer is going to be more involved. Now, yes, you make a good point. There is a concern when you've never been a manager after spending decades in baseball. Now, to be fair, having seen coaches come and go throughout sports for the past 30 years of my life, are we a little critical in Philadelphia? Are we a little critical to jump the gun? Of course. Now, granted, it's like we have trauma from bad relationships. We don't know how to love anymore. But the thing with Rob Thomson is this is really going to set the base for that contract. This is the full year. He's had full staff, full season, full spring training to really have the team be his, quote unquote. Now, the problem is he's working without Rhys Hoskins and Bryce Harper. The issue with that is they were spectacular towards the second half of the season last year. And when you have those guys, you bring in Trey Turner. Yeah, you have Schwarber as well. But we still managed 5 hits last night against the Yankees. 5 of them. I believe Bryson Scott had 2 of them, which, great for him. But you have the rest of the team where, as well as I do, Phillies bats are always the problem. Last year might have been a fluke. Thomson might have just gotten lucky that, the universe aligned, the planets were in order. It just didn't finish the way we wanted to. But now this season, if everybody's like, if you come in with the same expectations and the same expectations that pitching is going to be on cue, we're going to stay healthy, which we obviously already aren't. Rob Thomson, is going to bear the brunt of that as the manager, but he also, you have to temper those with realistic expectations.
That's fine.
He might not catch the lightning in the bottle, and that's fine.
1 in 5 start. You got to be at least critical of the fact that, and depending on who's watching this show, you're going to see a bunch of comments flow in here that Phil just hates Rob Thomson. I don't have Rob Thomson. I'm just a realist. And you come out of spring training as the NL defending champs, and you score 5 runs in the first, 2 or 3 innings against Jacob deGrom, and then completely shit the bed since then. And to me, that's partially, not all, because you bring up good points, the loss of Hoskins, not having Harper, Ranger Suarez being out. There are a lot of things that are, now Derek Hall's going down and probably going to go on the injured list for a little while. There are a lot of issues that he's having to handle. But can there be anything to be said to the argument that maybe Rob Thomson didn't just get these guys prepared because he didn't know how to prepare these guys, in the spring training, because he's never done it before. And maybe he did make some missteps, and it's just going to take us a month or so to kind of finish getting ready, because he might have been behind the 8 ball to start with.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's okay. I know the world might not end if we say that's okay.
Yeah.
Here's why. When you have a manager who's never had to have this level of responsibility, like picking up after Joe Girardi last year, I wouldn't say it's the same thing. And you and I both know it's not.
Right.
3/4 of a season of baseball from June until the World Series is not necessarily the same as getting there in February with pitchers and catchers reporting and having all of that. Now, granted, he can't help injuries. He can't. Like, that is, at some point, the injury bug is out of his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe strength and conditioning coaches should do a better job, but I am not one of those. I break my knee walking up the stairs, so I'm not one to comment. But when you look at the fact that he could make some adjustments,
Mm-hmm.
he could have done maybe a little bit better job evaluating who's going to be the right fit at what positions. Yeah, that's going to fall on him. And like, as a manager, he should take responsibility, and I think he does. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, if this is like June, July All-Star break and we're still having this conversation, I'm going to be a little more than just cautiously concerned. I'm going to be, okay, are we really sure? Like, buyer's remorse. Did we make the wrong decision?
We're going to get back into that second, but I want to bring up Adam's comment here. They need the home crowd. And I've been saying this, Adam, since the schedule came out, that the defending champion, starting with 6 games on the road, a team that just thrives off why baseball wouldn't give the NL champs the chance to play at home first, but also with all the games that are nationally televised, why they wouldn't want a packed Citizen Bank Park opening day, on everybody's TV screen. Beyond me. I think the baseball schedulers did us an extreme disservice sending us to Texas. We struggle in Texas always for like the last decade. 2, it's Texas and nobody cared. Like, we got screwed on the schedule. And I think that definitely played a little. If we were home for our first 6 games, Regina, do you think we're 1-5?
No. I think we'll be 4-2.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we're not going to go 6-0. I do not like to put unrealistic expectations on teams. Like, one thing people will know in my writing, in my conversations, I am not going to be, we are the best. We got to be realistic. Otherwise, you get your heart broken. Absolutely. Now, the fans at Citizens Bank, you saw the divisional series. You saw the World Series. It was amazing. That crowd, because you have the team and the fans are like in a symbiotic relationship. One feeds off the other. I agree. Now, the problem I have with this season is now we're not having as many interdivisional games, since they've rejigged the whole season to make it, well, everybody should play everybody. And you're like, okay, but we don't want to do that. So what my issue is the fact that, like, the Phillies I hate to say came second in the World Series. Essentially, they didn't win.
Right.
They deserve to have a home day opening day. They do. I totally agree with Adam. He's totally right. Why we didn't get that, and I agree with you too, I don't know, Phil. I have no idea. But you're going to see that crowd this weekend, should the weather not be what it's going to be today. We're postponed today for that reason.
This guy's saying that, this person's saying that it's weird because it's the Cincy weather. It is supposed to be bad here in Philly, I think, today.
It's going to be bad here in DC as well. I mean,
about like 3:00 on my phone is when the weather is supposed to come today. So, it is going to be, it's like 80 out yesterday, 80 today. But by 3:00 today, it is going to hit a brick wall and just like fall off a cliff, the weather around here. So it's probably smart. It's going to be colder.
Oh, it's incredibly smart.
Yeah, it's going to be colder this weekend. But, a lot of the scheduling is they try to keep as many of the northern teams down south to start the season. I understand that. When you're the defending champions, it's kind of like in football where, your champions play on Thursday Night Football to start the season. You showcase your best team on the national spotlight. And they didn't do that. And it kind of, we were the first Sunday Night Baseball game of the year. And you would think you would want that raucous, Citizen Bank crowd, there instead. And I think that kind of took some of the wind out of the sails. If you're struggling, you got that Philly crowd cheering you on, picks you up a little bit. I think the results of those first 6 games might have been a little different if they were in Philly.
And also the fact, like, to your point, where you're like, oh, well, they want northern teams starting the south. Okay, this is not Boston. Philly is not Boston. We do not have to worry about a freak March snowstorm in Philadelphia. That's not a concern. My concern is who annoyed Rob Manfred and pissed him off so much that this was the case, which is everyone at this point is mad at him. But I think the problem is you're bringing the Phillies home. They're playing tomorrow because we're getting rained out today. Fine. Okay, cool, kosher, whatever. My concern is this gives Cincinnati more rest. They've already had a couple of days off.
Okay.
They're now having an extra 24 hours. And they're, 3-2 to start the season? They are doing fairly well. Their bullpen looks very good. My concern is now, okay, could the Phillies have, if they had been home on opening day, would that have actually made a difference? Is the traveling took it out of them the first 6 games? Could have been.
Yeah. I mean, it gets back to the Rob Thomson having them prepared. And this argument that I've been having for a while, would he be able to, and did he, get this team better prepared? It's really weird because I don't know if you know this, but Rob Thompson's job since day one and for like the last 10, 15, even when he was back with the Yankees under Joe Girardi, was he was in charge of laying out the game plan as the assistant. Like the manager doesn't actually lay it out, for spring training. The assistant does. So he's had to lay it out for years and years. Who was going to pitch when, who was going to practice when, what days were going to be infield practice, what day was going to be bunting practice, whatever it may be. That was his job and role for the last 10, 20 years. And then he takes over in the big chair, and all of a sudden the team seems unprepared. So that leads me to the other part, that are we putting too much of this slow start on Rob Thomson and not some of the other guys? And I look specifically at Kevin Long, who did a great job yesterday getting rung up and thrown out of the game, saving Nick Castellanos, which I don't know if that helped or not. But Kevin Long is supposed to be this great hitting coach. Kevin Long is this guy that turns so many guys around. Mundo Sosa has obviously become a much better hitter under Kevin Long, the hitting coach. But yet this team, last year and this year so far, still can't hit with runners in scoring position and has the same streaky issues that they had all of last year. So maybe we need to be more critical of the hitting coach or the pitching coach or the whole team as a whole and not just Rob Thomson.
Well, absolutely. And that's the thing, is this is a team sport. Yeah, Rob Thomson is like the face. He's the manager. He's the skipper. He's the guy who's going to sit in press conferences and answer these tough questions about, you have a 1-5 start. Is this a concern for a team that was supposed to make the playoffs this year? And you make a very good point. It is on the hitting coach. It is on the pitching coach. It is on strength and conditioning coaches, because when you have these injuries, bodies are bodies. They're going to act the way they are. But when you see Rhys Hoskins get injured on a non-contact play, that's a little bit of a concern. And an ACL injury at that, that's a little bit of a concern. And so you have these guys, and none of these guys are spring chickens. They're not old by any sense of the word, but they're not in their early 20s. You're going to, and the problem with the Phillies, and you know this as well as I do, Phil, they constantly rely on their bullpen. They have not been a hitting team. Even in the 2008 World Series, they were not necessarily known for their, they had a stellar bullpen. And that's what the Phillies have been known for years, is their bullpen. And now we're starting to see cracks in that, even more so, losing Ranger Suarez. Wheeler was injured and is now, finally ready to be the ace that we need him to be. But you're putting it on the shoulders of guys who aren't supposed to be starters. I mean, if you look at the series coming up against Cincinnati, I believe the starter on Saturday, and I might butcher the name, and that's okay because this is what we do. Bailey Falter, I believe. Yeah. He's their 5th starter entering the season, I believe. That's where he was supposed to be.
He pitched game 3. So technically speaking, he's our 3rd starter on this right now. I'm actually a huge Bailey Falter fan.
Really?
Bailey Falter last year, people don't realize this. I mean, he started more than half the season last year. He had a 3.86 ERA last year. In the role that he was put into with no expectations, he actually performed pretty well. And as long as Andrew Painter wasn't going to make this team, Bailey Falter earned the right last year to be the next man, in my opinion. But again, he shouldn't be starting game 3 of a season for this.
No,
he's not that good. You know what I mean?
No, and that's the thing. I had him expecting to be the 5th starter. I was fine with that. I like that spot for him. And then watching him in game 3, you're like, are you sure you're ready? Are you sure this is something you're going to be able to handle? And him going up against Nick Lodoto over the weekend, like he was a top prospect, I believe, last year. He's fantastic. Falter's going to have to, have the offense back him up at home. Now, granted, that might be easier. We're at home. Remember that crowd energy.
Yeah.
But the Reds are hot. The Reds have rest. The Phillies do not. And he's going to need all the support he gets. Now, granted, Wheeler's starting tomorrow. Great opportunity. I'm going to predict it's going to be a win. We will see. As long as the bats show up, I think Wheeler will be fine, and we won't have anything to worry about.
Is the big names, the big guns, whether it's pitching or hitting, like Aaron Nola, his first outing, atrocious. Wheeler's first outing, not very good. Aaron Nola looked better yesterday. I know a lot of people were like, oh, it was a great outing from Aaron Nola.
It was okay.
It was okay. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. They gave up
As the
3
kids say, it was mid. As the
I
kids
was
say.
trying to. I accidentally said that the other day. I'm like, oh man, my employees are wearing off on me too much. It's just not good. A 42-year-old man does not say mid. It just doesn't happen. But anyway, yeah, I mean, he was decent. I'm not going to use the word. He was decent yesterday. So it was a step in the right direction, but you need Wheeler to take that next step as well. You need Nick Castellanos, who, everybody was hoping for that bounce back. I talked about it for like 3 months. I used the term, even though everyone tells me it doesn't exist this term. It does exist. I expected the positive regression from Nick Castellanos. It hasn't happened yet. He's batting, 180, 170 already? He has struck out more than 50% of his at-bats already. Now, yes, some of those strikeouts yesterday were umpire-related and not the greatest of calls, but whatever. That's beside it. You need him to step up. You need Kyle Schwarber not to hit 150. You need some of these guys to get hits when there's runners on scoring position. You know what I mean? These are the things. Everybody making money on this team, the big guys, they need to step it up because you can't lose a season in April. You can't miss the World Series in April, but you can put yourself in a hole that makes it almost impossible to overcome. And at this rate, we're going to have a losing record at the end of April if these guys don't start stepping it up soon.
And the concern is especially going up at home against the Reds, a team who's actually gotten better over the years. I'll say it's still Cincinnati, but if we're looking at finishing the weekend 1-8, yeah, I'm going to be concerned. Or 2-7 if my math is serving correctly. That's going to be a problem. Mm-hmm. We don't even have to finish April breaking 500 in April would be fine. I think at this point, considering we've already put ourselves in a hole. But if you're gonna take a 2-7 or 2 and whatever, less than 10 wins into May, yeah, we've got a problem. We've got a concern because you dig yourself in a hole that early. Yeah, it's almost impossible to get out. And the thing is, you have guys like Castellanos and you have guys like Schwarber who have moments. But the problem is when you strike out 50% at bat, umpire related or not, and I could get into the pitch clock for hours on end about how much I hate it. We aren't seeing glimmers of that team with the lightning in the bottle. We're seeing glimmers of guys who look like they've never played and are rusty. And I don't like that.
You're looking at a team, and I date myself by saying this, you're looking at the 1994 Phillies, who made the magical run in 93, and then in 94 came out and shit the bed. And we got saved by the strike to not see our team repeat. You know what I mean? And you're seeing the same thing, that lightning in a bottle hangover now. And I almost think that today, the game being canceled today is actually a positive. And I'd love to get your thoughts on this because this team has been in Spring Clearwater. Then they went right on the road. They haven't slept in their home beds. They haven't been home. They get a day to just clear their heads, go home, unpack, unwind, see their family again. And maybe that gives them a little added, maybe take some of the pressure off, relaxes them a little bit. So that maybe then when they come out tomorrow for the new home opener, maybe it's kind of settles things down a little bit.
Like a refresh. Also, don't forget we have the World Baseball Classic in there as well, which super fun. You're right. You've had guys who have not been home in 2+ months. You have guys who haven't played at Citizens Bank Park in multiple months at this point. That's where I think the scheduled disservice, like we talked about before, is the problem. You go from Florida, you go to Texas, you're on the road, you go up to New York, and everybody's like, oh, why do they suck? You're like, oh, I don't know. Maybe the fact that they haven't had a break per se.
Right.
Like the Reds, but they're coming into Philadelphia. They've had a couple of days break. Today, having that day off, I think is so wise. Mm-hmm. Like even games that are in New York or Boston, or even, down here in DC, yeah, they're not far, but you're still traveling at the end of the day. It's still 3-5 hours without traffic. You're having these guys who are, I don't want to say they're looking tired because it's 8:30 in the morning, we all look tired, but they look a little tired.
What are you saying? I look wide awake every single morning on this show. 18 months in, I am wide awake almost every morning.
That's why we have the coffee here.
I haven't overslept yet in 18 months and missed a show.
That's impressive. That's the point. That's the point is the Phillies are looking, I hate to say run down. I'm trying to think of good synonyms as a writer for run down and tired, but run down and tired. They're not having a
shorter off season than everybody else, obviously. I wonder, let me pull up I wonder what the Astros are doing at this point. because they had the short off season as well.
They're at Home Depot getting more trash cans.
That would kill my argument if they were doing really well. They are 3-4, the Astros so far. Okay, so they're not
well,
but they got to start at home. You know what I mean? Lucky them. They had their first 7 games at home. So I mean that's kind of they deserve to be the World Series champions. Start at home.
They're also they're only a game and a half back of the Rangers in the AL West too. Granted, now I am not one of those people who will dig into stats and statistics like 6 games and be like, oh nope, that's it. Like I will never write off a team 6 games in because there's no, unless like they're 0-6 or like someone like the Nationals who had a bad season last year pretty much had a fire sale, and this year they're like, yeah, we're gonna suck anyway. You're like, yeah, you are. It's fine, no big deal. But you have guys who I just think they need to like get back in a groove. Now, what that groove is, I can't say. Is it the fact that maybe our guys need to, actually put men in position to score as well? It's not just about bringing them home; it's putting them in position too. We can't even do that.
Can't do much of anything.
I feel like we're kind of like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Like you said, signing Trey Turner, fantastic. Okay, then losing Hoskins and Harper, cool. So I feel like we're gonna kind of be playing like a little bit of catch up this season because of some of the injuries. But Phil, I don't want to write them off. I'm not going to be pessimistic.
We're not writing them off. It is a long season. I know I got to wrap up, get you out of here for your work thing, but it's not being. Everybody says it's overreacting and negative Philadelphia. It's not. It's being critical. It's being concerned. Right. That almost, if I was going to rewrite the title of the show, it would be being concerned about the Phillies, not overreacting. Yeah. Does that seem like a fair way to wrap this part of the show up?
Absolutely. Again, it's cautiously. I came into the season cautiously optimistic. If you've read any of my writings and previews, that's what I'm not going to be like. Sunshine and roses over here in Philadelphia. It's going to be like, it's not doom and gloom. It's not sunshine and roses. It's let's see how this is going to shake out. So absolutely, we can be cautiously concerned.
Okay, Regina, let everybody know where, because you're doing great work, and I greatly appreciate your time this morning. I know you got work at 9 a.m. So just let everybody know where they could find you on all social media platforms. I know you're writing, obviously, for Philadelphia Sports Network, and they can find your work there as well. Just give yourself a shout out to anything
you can find me on Twitter, Regina_Ham. I also have a work Instagram. Don't try to find the personal one. You won't. It's Regina Marie Sports. I post lots of fun content. I'm trying to use TikTok more, but we're going to hold that out till next time till I can figure out how to actually be a more.
I'm not one of those people that uses the word kid. So I'm not one of the people that uses TikTok well. You know what I mean? So
well, you know what?
Same generation.
So yeah, you can follow me in both places. We can talk baseball. You might see a picture of my dog occasionally, but let's go. Let's ring the bell.
Greatly appreciate your time, Regina. We're going to do this again soon because you obviously wake up and have a decent, amount of energy in the morning, which is hard for me as a host to find somebody to come on with some energy. So we will do this again very soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Phil.
Thanks a lot. That was Regina Ham there here from Philadelphia Sports Network. Let's do a quick reset here real quick. You are watching Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. Make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button, turn notifications on so you don't miss a minute of the action. We're going to continue talking Phillies. So any of your questions, thoughts, comments from what the first 30 minutes of this show was, drop them in the comment section. We'll get into them because we're going to continue talking a lot of the things we talked about there with Virginia. And Adam, it's great that you're going to be there tomorrow. It's something that, Adam, that, I think is great that the Phillies did and baseball did. They made the decision yesterday to postpone today's game. How often do these teams, obviously no, games are not going to happen. Games are going to get weather delayed and rained out. They drag the decision on to kind of get more concessions, more people into the stadium. And then at 4 o'clock on a 3 o'clock game, finally cancel the start of the game or postpone it. I give the Phillies a lot, and baseball a lot of credit for making that decision early, really, really making it easier for the fans, not to have to make that judgment call. So, Adam, I expect you and everybody in your section to be loud and cheering this team on because I really, truly believe, as we talked about there, if we start the season at home, we might not be 1-5. That you got to think that we've been atrocious with runners in scoring position. I get that. And we haven't been effective offensively, but you got to think that maybe 1 or 2 more clutch hits come when that crowd is energized. Yesterday, Kyle Schwarber hit that laser home run yesterday. It was like a line drive home run. And then JT comes up to the plate, and it's just like The energy that there was, like the crowd from that Kyle Schwarber home run, if it was in Philly, maybe you get a better at bat from JT. And I'm not blaming JT for getting out in that follow up at bat, but there was no energy, no spark. This team needs the energy and spark of the home crowd, and maybe that helps get them rolling. But again, all these things we've talked about so far, Rob Thomson, maybe I'm being too critical of Rob Thomson. Maybe I'm being too critical blaming him for some of the slow starts of this team. Maybe it's not that he didn't get this team prepared. Maybe it's a combination of the World Baseball Classic, the Rhys Hoskins injury, completely sucking the energy, the life out of this team. And we talk about this on this show for a long time, even before it was on Philadelphia Sports Network, that this team didn't have a real leader, clubhouse leader. Maybe Rhys Hoskins was that leader. And now him not being there, maybe we're seeing a little bit of that, lack of leadership in the locker room. And I'm sure he's going to be back in the locker room at some point soon once the initial recovery from surgery stages are over. But somebody's got to step up in the locker room. And maybe we are putting too much on Rob Thomson. Maybe it's Kyle Long. Maybe it's the pitching coach. Maybe it's just the players' fault. Regina mentioned the World Baseball Classic, which was awesome. But there are a lot of players in the World Baseball Classic from a lot of teams. There are plenty of teams performing well right now. The Phillies, it's not like every team stinks right now. There are teams winning baseball games. And you could blame the bad hitting. You could blame the bad pitching. You could blame the fact that Aaron Nola still, in my mind, although he looked better yesterday, still did not have the greatest outing, I guess is the way I would say it. I want to pull up the box score from yesterday and see exactly what he did. I know his last run he gave up was on was it Soto was in there? I forget who the reliever was that came in. His final run there was charged him, but it was really a hit that, it was a guy he had left on base and Soto gave it up. So he went 6 innings yesterday, 7 hits, 3 runs, only 1 walk, which was great. 5 strikeouts through 87 pitches. It's an improvement from 5 runs in 3 2/3 and 72 pitches. Obviously, I get that. But, and it was the Yankees too. So that plays a little bit of a factor there. But you got to think that we still need more from Aaron Nola. 6 innings, 3 runs, that's not what we needed. We needed to stop the bleeding yesterday. We needed 6 inning shut up on. Tough. Going up against Garrett Cole, it's tough. But you got to match him pitch for pitch. And he just didn't do that. And I could be critical there. Soto, I mean, we talked about it this offseason. Having Soto and Alvarado both in your bullpen at the same time, I mean, I know everybody's like, the Phillies got blown out in that trade because Vierling had a big hit the other day, I heard, or a big game the other day. And Nick Maton and all that they're doing out in the Midwest there. But, Soto, was helping fix something that always is a problem for the Phillies, the bullpen. And he's just been awful. Junior Marte, I mean, got demoted before yesterday's game. A guy that we thought we were going to catch lightning in a bottle with, and obviously it did not happen to start this season. But also, all these struggles with the bullpen, with the starters, would it have been different if Ranger Suarez was in the starting rotation and not Matt Strahm? And Matt Strahm, who did pitch admirably as a starter the other day, if he's in the bullpen, maybe things change a little bit. If Ranger Suarez is out there, maybe things change a little bit. If there weren't so many issues and injuries on this team, would things be different? And that I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I know they gave positive reports during the game yesterday on Ranger Suarez, so maybe we see him soon. Do you think an extra day off will help Wheeler tomorrow? I mean, if we, first and foremost, I think the extra day off, as I said a few minutes ago, Adam, helps all teams, or helps the whole team, because it gives them just an extra day to reset, refresh, sit at home, chill out, forget about baseball for today. They knew about it yesterday, so Rob Thomson probably told the guys to stay home on Thursday, chill out. That helps the team reset. Gives Wheeler an extra day to reset at home. But if Zach Wheeler needs an extra day off for the extra day of rest, we've got a problem in April if Wheeler already needs an extra day of rest. And I said it, Adam, and you'll vouch. I've been saying it all offseason that these guys, it's almost like we need the Joel Embiid load management process with Nola and Wheeler this year. They pitched a hell of a lot of innings last year. They were tired at the end of last year. And if we want to make a deep run this year into October, we need Wheeler and Nola healthy. I say it again. Load management, 2 weeks off in July for Wheeler, 2 weeks off after that for Nola in July or August, whatever. We need an opportunity to get these guys rested. And it's weird. It's an odd philosophy to do load management with pitchers, but you want them ready for postseason. And if Wheeler needs a break already, it's a problem. But I know you saw it, Adam, in his last start. He topped 97 once, I believe, in his last start. I think I saw 97 one time on the radar gun. That's not Zach Wheeler. I know it's his first start. I know he didn't pitch a lot in spring training, but I've seen other pitchers that we faced hitting 99 and 100. So why isn't Wheeler? I don't know. I have some serious concerns about Zach Wheeler, Adam. I really do. Before he came to Philly, there was concerns and questions about his health and his arm and whether he could stay healthy. And he's been relatively healthy here in Philadelphia. But again, I'm not going to lie. There are serious concerns about Zach Wheeler in my mind at this point. There's the Aaron Nola concerns for me are just, can he handle the pressure of being under a contract situation, contract year situation. I still think Aaron Nola, the pitcher, is fine, but Zach Wheeler concerns me. Ranger Suarez concerns me. Arm issues, tightness, and soreness this early in the season. The amount he pitched last year, it concerns me. You know, and I've said it before, and I said it. I'll say it again. You know, Taijuan Walker was all you did to fix this rotation. I really truly think that the Phillies had hoped and expected Andrew Painter to make the starting rotation out of camp, and that would have given you Bailey Falter as your sixth pitcher, your long reliever / backup starting pitcher. But the fact that Painter didn't make it, Ranger Suarez is already out, has really kind of put a damper on what the expectations were for this year because Andrew Painter wasn't around either. And that's fine. I said that I didn't want him in the rotation to start the year, but I think the Phillies expected him to be there, and that's caused an issue. And I think you will see. It won't take long for Dave Dombrowski. Dave Dombrowski knows the window and knows the situation here in Philly that he can't let this team fall behind. The amount of money that's been spent on this team, he will not let them fall too far behind. And as more injuries keep piling up on this team, now Derek Hall, they're already projected to call up Cody Clemens, who had a great spring training. I know it would have caused an issue on the 40-man rotation or 40-man roster. I kind of wanted to see Scotty Scotty Jetpacks be the guy that gets called up because he can play so many different positions around the field. He's tearing the cover off the ball in AAA right now. I know he's got a couple home runs, and you could put him at third or Stott at third and Bohm at first and Scotty Jetpack. You can move him around, and he could have filled a little bit of that spot. But Cody Clemens seems to be the guy that they're going to call up first, probably because he's on the 40-man roster already, and they just had to get rid of Ortiz off the 40-man roster for the pitcher they just brought in. So that is that. But the injuries just keep piling up. And, you know, there's a reason why in baseball it's so hard to repeat, as champions, but even just getting back to the World Series. It's so hard. And you're seeing it already, the injuries, piling up on this team. I'm not a Derek Hall fan. I don't think Derek Hall deserved he earned the right to an extent, but it was kind of by default. Derek Hall probably wasn't, you're ready to switch from Phillies right to NFL. We'll get back to some football tomorrow. I promise you need a lot more Saturday. We will get back to football tomorrow. Maybe some Sixers, maybe some Eagles. We'll do a little bit of everything tomorrow on the show. But Derek Hall, it's just another one of the injuries piling up on this team. And, with all the positivity that the Phillies had to start this season and to have it all come crashing down so quickly, it's discouraging. And I'm looking at, I had the pitching up, but let's get back to the hitting. And I keep going back to it. I mean, it doesn't matter that Trey Turner's hitting 370. Bryson Stott's hitting 435. Alec Bohm, 350. Derek Hall, Brandon Marsh is hitting 333. Sosa's hitting 300. You got a lot of guys hitting really well. Schwarber only 154. But it's the timing of the hits. We're talking baseball today, my man. Baseball and the Phillies, the 1-5 Phillies, and their awful slow start. Hit me up on a DM on Twitter. I'd love to talk to you, man, and get to and see who you are. Maybe we'll get you on this show one day to talk a little bit more. But this team, it's just inconsistent. And, getting singles and doubles with nobody on base is great. But if you can't bring them in, It's a problem. I'm going to keep going back to, and I hit the wrong screen there. There it is. Nick Castellanos. He's got 22 at bats so far this year. He's hitting 182. He's got 12 strikeouts. 12 strikeouts and 22 at bats. That's not good enough. When you're making the money that Nick Castellanos is making, excuse me, and you had as bad of a season as he had last year, you need more from Nick Castellanos. And this is going to be a real, you signed him to, I believe it was a 4-year, $100 million deal. This is year 2 of it. The Phillies are going to be hurting and struggling to figure out. Nick Castellanos is like the worst version of Tobias Harris. Like, you give him a big contract and he can't live up to it. And what do? You can't trade him. Nobody's going to take Nick Castellanos off your hands. And you can't get rid of him because you don't have anybody else to play his spot. I just don't know what the Phillies need to do to figure out Nick Castellanos. Was it just that last year in Cincy was just a flash in the pan? Was that one of those situations where he was the best player on a bad team? He got overvalued. The Phillies gave him a big contract, and now we're stuck. I still go back to he should be the DH, and unfortunately with Bryce Harper coming back probably sooner rather than later, he's going to stay in right field, Nick Castellanos, and it's probably not the right move for him. It's probably hampering his hitting a little bit. Saw him chasing down a fly ball yesterday, or one that went out of play, a foul ball. And I was just like, dude, that guy just does not move. You need your right fielder to move. And dude, it's like he's running with bricks in his feet. And does that affect him at the plate? I don't know. His attitude too, like he just, he walks around with like this air about him, but yet then struggles. Like he doesn't follow it up. He walks around confident, but doesn't follow it up. And the talk about him being off last year and maybe not living up to the contract or whatever it may have been last year. We needed that positive regression from him this year. And having 22 at-bats and striking out 12 times and having a 180 average, it's not positive regression. That's digging yourself into a hole right away. So I don't even know what the Phillies do. You can't bench a guy making 20-plus million. You don't have anybody to take his place even if you do bench him, especially with all the injuries. You're going to start Cody Clemens. Jake Cave stinks. You can't put him out there every day. Jake Cave should not be on this team. I'll say it again. Jake Cave should not be on this team. Christian Pache or whatever his name is should not be on this team. I mean, you don't have any other outfield options. But yet you got a guy that you're paying $20+ million to, hitting 180 again after a year of struggling immensely. Now, it won't be 182 bad for Nick Castellanos. And he'll get a hot streak going. And that's the thing. This team, I know we added Trey Turner, but you subtract Bryce Harper, you subtract Rhys Hoskins. Baseball attendances, well, it's opening week. We'll see. We have to wait like a month into the season to see how it bounces out. But most parks that I've seen opening week have been packed for the opening games and stuff like that, which is great. And, the Phillies will be. I'm pissed, not concerned. I think that's fair. I think concerned and pissed is the better word to overreacting. Cole, I ask you, what do you do with Nick Castellanos? But back to Need a Lot. Yeah, the attendance is never a problem opening week of the season. It just isn't. I just don't know what you do with Nick Castellanos at this point. You can't bench him. You can't let him keep it. It really comes down to the fact that he probably should not be hitting in your 4 or 5 hole anymore. And the fact that Rob Thomson keeps trotting him out there in that 4 or 5 hole every single day goes back to the start of the conversation is Rob Thomson overmatched as a full-time manager? And I continue to think that he might be. When you're a career assistant, a career bench coach, a career third base coach, first base, there's a reason why you don't get put in the chair. And I think a different manager in here right now might have seen that in Nick Castellanos. And maybe Nick, again, with all the injuries to Bryce and with Rhys, who's going to hit cleanup, who's going to hit in the 5 hole. But you got to get creative. Hey, yesterday's lineup, let me pull yesterday's box score up. Before I say this officially, I want to say Bohm was in the 7 hole. Alec Bohm, who's hitting 350 after yesterday's 0 for 2, was hitting the 7 hole. But Nick Castellanos hitting 182 is in your 5 hole. Dark Hall in your 4 hole. On a side note, Kyle Schwarber is not a 2-hole hitter. Can we end that experiment as well? If this is what we've got player-wise, I disagree. It's kind of hard because he can't put JT at 4 without Bryce. And well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, on the spot, I haven't done this. Like, I'm just thinking this off the top of my head here, Cole. This is what I would do with the lineup at this point, because you've got to get Nick Castellanos out of that prime hitting spot. Until he can prove otherwise, you need him in the lineup because of the money invested in him. But you got to find something else. This is how my lineup would be right now. I would keep, obviously, Trey Turner in leadoff spot. I'd put Bryson Stott in the 2-hole. I would put Alec Bohm in the 3-hole. I would put JT in the 4-hole, or Kyle Schwarber in the 4-hole, JT in the 5-hole. So you go Turner, Stott, Bohm, Schwarber, JT. And then 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, Marsh stays at 9, I guess. If you're going to start Sosa, you put Sosa in there at 8. Castellanos at 7. Maybe you put Stott or Castellanos at 8, and you put Sosa at 7, and then whoever else is starting. I'm missing somebody there, in the 6-hole. Who am I missing there? Whoever's playing first base now. I have no idea if there's an underground city, my man. That is one of the most random questions I've ever gotten on this show. But you got to do something right now with this lineup, and continuing to trot Nick Castellanos out there in the 4 and 5-hole every day. It's just not happening. With no Derek Hall, I fully expect Rob Thomson to have Nick Castellanos in the cleanup spot on Friday, the new home opener. But I think it would be a big, big mistake. I do. So again, let me rephrase. Let me redo this again. So Stott in the 2. So Turner, Stott, Bohm, Schwarber, JT. That would be my 1 through 5. Now, if you want to switch it up a little bit, you can go Turner 1, Bohm 2, JT 3, Schwarber 4, Stott 5. You could do that. Castellanos hit well against the Rangers. He's hitting 182. He's got 12 strikeouts and 22 official at-bats. That's just not, it's not good enough. I don't care if it's one series good and one series bad, Cole. It's just not good enough. So, again, though, it's not like I'm saying you got to bench him, because you can't. You can't bench him, Cole. I get that. But it's got to be better. And again, Rob Thomson, again, and Regina, our guest today, great content from her. She brings up, I mean, he's obviously, Rob Thomson, been put up against a wall. You got no Bryce Harper, the Rhys Hoskins thing, monumental, Ranger Suarez, all these injuries piling up. And again, Cole, you're too young. You weren't even born in 2002, like that video we were talking about yesterday. But this is eerily similar to 94. It is. Coming out of the gate struggling. And there is so much hope, so much money spent on this team, so many expectations. If we start the season, whatever it was last year, 21 and 29, 22 and 28 before they fired Joe Girardi, if we start the first 50 games of the year exactly like last year, it's not every year you can dig yourself out of that hole. It just doesn't magically happen. Yeah. God damn. Man, I feel old. I do. It is okay. Cole will be in my shoes in 20 plus years, feeling old like me. It's just, I don't know what Rob Thomson can do. You kind of just got to push through this moment and hope Bryce comes back sooner rather than later. My only concern is if you push Bryce Harper too hard because you need him, does it risk him getting hurt again? Does it risk anything there? I don't know. But I just hope that they don't push Bryce too soon, and then Bryce Harper comes back and, struggles in the lineup because he's back too soon, doesn't get enough work. But we're kind of at the point where that's our big hope right now, is the push for Bryce Harper to come back as soon as possible. And it was a great video, seeing him in the cages or on the field hitting in batting practice yesterday at Yankee Stadium. It was great, great, great to see. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about there. I don't know. Yeah, 20 years does go by in like 2 seconds. It absolutely 15 years for me because I opened my pizza shop 15 years ago. Um, I know all about Slam and Sammy. He knows too. He knows his stuff. And some 20-year Yeah, I don't have any kids, so my kids won't be the ones busting your chops, Cole, but I will find a kid. My nephew, I'll have Connor, my nephew, bust your chops when you're 40 years old and he's in his 20s. Anyway, I just don't know what to do for this Phillies team. It's almost like at this point, we could be concerned. We could be critical. We could be pissed, as Cole said. But we just kind of have to weather the storm because there is nothing else except for tinkering with the offense, the lineup a little bit. There is nothing else this team can do. It's not like the Phillies have a Chase Utley or Ryan Howard or some young stud minor league hitter that they can call up. Their minor leaguers are their pitchers. And didn't I just read yesterday that McGreary's now hurt too? So one of their third best pitching prospect is now hurt too, along with Andrew Painter. I mean, that's literally how much bad luck is happening all at the same time. I don't like the bad luck on this Phillies team right now. The bad juju on this team, the mojo, it's gone. I don't know. So you almost just have to weather the storm. Hope that Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, they turn it around. They get themselves right. That Ranger Suarez comes back healthy in a week or two versus, 10 weeks. Good morning, Mitch. What's up, my man? Hope you're doing well. You know, um, we just got to hope to weather these storms. We got to hope to weather the slow start from Nick Castellanos. We got to hope to weather the slow start from Kyle Schwarber. What is it, June or July that Kyle Schwarber tears the cover off the ball every single year? Well, we need that Kyle Schwarber now. We got to hope that we just can weather this storm and that come 2 more weeks from now, at the end of April even, things just turn around. I saw somebody say this, and let me pull this up real quick. We just went up against a very good Rangers team and obviously the Yankees, who are a great team. But now we got 7 of our next 10 games against the Reds. Not a great baseball team. They've played well so far, but they're not a great baseball team. Yeah, 3 against Miami, 3 against the White Sox, not a great team. 4 against Colorado, not a great team. Seattle, better. We start the season off with a pretty tough schedule, facing some elite pitching, elite offenses. Maybe the next 2 weeks, we can start hitting our stride against some lesser opponents. Maybe that helps the situation out a little bit. That would be much maybe. It's weathering the storm. I think that is actually the great philosophy to kind of wrap this show up. We just need to weather the storm. It's not jumping off the ship. It's not being a bandwagon jumper. We're being critical. We're being concerned. We're being pissed off at the lack of energy this team shows. But we just got to weather the storm. The energy Friday, it's going to be cool, but energetic, full, packed house all weekend long. You got Friday's home opener. You got Saturday, which is always the second game was always my favorite. They always gave out great T-shirts at the second game of the season. I don't know if they still do that. And then you got the ring ceremony on Sunday. The energy is going to be back in that stadium. That's what you need. And maybe that energy translates to some wins. It translates to some positivity to this team being in their home clubhouse again, in their own beds at home in Philadelphia area again. And saying that just made me think, does Nick Castellanos still live in Ben Simmons' house? Maybe that's been the whole problem. We joked about it last year. Could somebody call Nick Castellanos and tell him he's got to move out of that Ben Simmons abode, please? Because we joked that was the problem last year. Yeah, we can't talk pizza right now. I do know New York style pizza, and a good sauce is always important. I do make a sweet pizza sauce. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, it's just maybe we're just weathering the storm, and maybe the next, again, let me pull the schedule back up. You got 6 games at home. Maybe we can go. Saying 5-1 would be really tough, but maybe we can get 4-2 on this homestand. If we're 4-2 on this homestand, all of a sudden things are turning around. And you're I put you at 5-7. 5-7 looks a lot better than 1-5. It does. So, weathering the storm. some positivity. I will be critical of Rob Thomson the whole year. There's no way I won't be. But if it's not all on Rob Thomson and it's on the players, we need this home crowd to turn them around, get their positivity. But again, Nick Castellanos, I just keep going back. If I'm not allowed to be critical of Rob Thomson, then I got to say it's Nick Castellanos. And I know tomorrow we're gonna have my OG boys of Trending in the AM, Mark Moscatelli and Jason Voorhees on. Their first time on the Philadelphia Sports Network with me, and you'll see them a lot on this show over the course of the months and years because they're my boys and we do a great show together as a trio. And they're always going to tell me that I'm overly critical on Rob Thomson, but you can be because he hasn't shown anything yet this year to prove that last year wasn't a flash in the pan. But again, maybe it's just weathering the storm. Maybe it's weathering these initial injuries. I got a Phillies hat. I got lots of Phillies hats, my man. Do you need me to wear a Phillies hat to prove that I'm a Phillies fan? That was my Eagles hat. That's my Sixers hat. All right, there's my Phillies hat. That's the one I got in the office with me. And we always need beers when we watch baseball. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't like wearing a hat in here. It's hot in this office. Anyway, we're going to wrap up Trending the AM right there here on Philadelphia Sports Network. Again, if you're watching this on replay, like, subscribe, turn notifications on so you don't miss a minute. We go live here every day, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. Always. It's Masters Day. As soon as this show goes off the air, I'm turning my TV on to the Masters coverage. The Masters, the greatest golf tournament in the world. I'm super pumped, super excited. We'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, we're going to talk all things Phillies, Sixers, Eagles. I might even start the show a few minutes early. Might let it go a little long. The Masters has already started, Mitch. Let me pull up. Hold on. Let me go to ESPN. Let's see who the early leader is. Early leader. Who the heck is McLean? -2. Matthew McLean, amateur. Oh, now already fell to -1. -1. Russell Henley, -1. Kevin Kisner, -1. Let me go down this list. Any interesting numbers here? Kevin Na, +4. Can't say I'm not excited about that. Keith Mitchell even on his first hole. Minwoo Lee even on his first hole. Love it. Love it. I'm excited. Tiger. I love Tiger this week, actually. I think Tiger plays really well this week at the Masters. Not a winner, but I think he plays really well. But yes, tune in tomorrow. Show too short. This show is too short, my man. If I start making some serious money, maybe we can make it longer, this show. I thoroughly believe, my man, and we'll close on this, that I could do this show 2 hours. But I got a business to run. I got to make some money at this so I can go into work a little later every day and justify that. But we're going to wrap it up right there, guys. Trending the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. For Philadelphia Sports Network, I am Phil Stiefel. We will see you again tomorrow. Have a great day and ring that bell.